opening remarks, unless you'd like us to redo our score speeches. So,
What are your thoughts on the governor's education reform plan?
well, I mean, we've got it now in the chamber. We're looking forward to working through it. I know the education committee is excited about that. It's not anything that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. It'll be a very thoughtful working through it, and but we're excited about going to work on it.
What about the governor's contention that lawmakers have to deal with his education reform plan before they deal with allowable growth?
Well, he's got a pretty large education proposal, so it's going to take a little bit of time to get through.
So you agree with that, though, setting that up, that before allowable growth, we have to do education reform?
Well, we got to work through the plan first. I mean, we just got the bill language today.
So what is the approach on allowable growth? Will you guys be setting that in the next few weeks here?
Law requires that we set it within 30 days, and we'll be working towards something along those lines, I would expect.
He does not want you to do that.
Well, we'll discuss that as we move forward. I mean, I'm really interested today. We just got organized. You're asking very specific, detailed questions, and we just got the bill language today, so it's going to take some time to work through it.
Now, back on the education thing, you said in your remarks something about not wanting to burden teachers with bureaucratic something or the other. What did you have in mind when you said that? Is there something in this in the governor's package that seems to do that, or what?
No,
what were you
that
referring
was,
to? What were you
that was
referring to?
just that we need to be helpful to teachers. Plug in and help them do the job that they want to do, as opposed to thinking we've got all the answers here in Des Moines or in this chamber, getting prescriptive and making them do things that don't add value for the students.
And is there a danger then in the governor's package?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you anticipate raising allowable growth, or to what extent will you think the caucus is going to raise allowable growth for the coming year or the year after?
I think we need to look through the proposal, the ed reform proposal. The governor will be presenting his budget tomorrow. At that point in time, we'll get his numbers, including his allowable growth numbers, and then we'll work through it.
The Senate President in her remarks today called for expanding Medicaid. Is that going to be an option for House Republicans or not?
Yeah, opening day of session, I'm not trying to push things away. We're trying to make sure we have a good dialogue, get things done that are important for Iowans. But that would be something that would be extremely difficult for us to do. The Medicaid expenses, even with no expansion of services, the financial burden of that continues to go up significantly. Expanding services, several $100 million worth, when the federal government is promising not to fund it in a couple years, which is a promise you can rely on, would be something very difficult to do.
Talk about the top priorities for this session.
Excuse me?
Talk about the top priorities for this session to accomplish.
This caucus is clearly focused on growing jobs in the state, growing the economy, and that's what the electorate has told us that. We think the pieces of that fall out very simply. It's first of all making sure we have a sustainable, predictable budget that Iowans can count on, that employers can see we have our fiscal house in order, as opposed to some of the other states, particularly to our east. It's about making sure we have an environment that encourages employers to invest in our state. That includes income tax, that includes property tax, that includes regulatory reform, and we think that making sure we have a strong, skilled workforce and making sure that our kids or young Iowans are being correctly prepared. We're going to focus on that, so we see education as a big part of that as well.
With $1 billion surplus, $1 billion plus surplus, do you see yourselves being able to accomplish some of the things you might not be able to accomplish without that surplus?
Well, we have an overpayment that Iowans have made. We clearly can run state government without that. We need to find a way to return that to them. I don't know anything about a surplus. We have an overpayment on behalf of taxpayers of Iowa. Unquestionably, it provides some opportunities, and one of the most obvious ones is to provide some opportunity to find a mechanism to get that return to Iowans.
Do you have any ideas on what that might be, what that mechanism?
We'll introduce our bills tomorrow.
You know,
What will be your first bill? We'll introduce House File 1 tomorrow.
you know how
And what will
much,
House File 1 be?
We'll introduce it tomorrow.
you know how
You have
much
the same split.
capacity you've identified for tax relief?
I'm sorry.
How much capacity have you identified for tax relief?
We'll let the
How many
Ways
dollars?
and Means Committee work on some of those details.
you have the same split that you had last year. You know, the numbers have narrowed a little bit, but, you know, does that really mean anything, or should we look kind of for a repeat of last year?
No, you know, from my perspective, it's a whole new General Assembly. Every General Assembly has its own personality, every session has its own personality. We have 30 some odd new members, I don't know the exact number, between the two chambers. They have new ideas, they have new perspective. I think that opens the door to explore doing big things on behalf of Iowans.
Sorry if you've already been asked this, but do you think that House Republicans will be prepared to fund education reform entirely with free money? Or are you going to be looking to reallocate money from the education budget?
It's too early to know specifics on that. Anyone else?
There was a bipartisan group on Friday who wanted the legislature to fund up to $20 million for the transition to the redesigned mental health system. I know it's early, but do you expect there's going to be adequate funds for the counties to continue that redesign?
I expect there will be adequate funds to fund mental health. We'll have to work through the details of that. So that might be something you had.
Well, that's a new number, even from the previous 3 numbers that we've heard so far on the transition dollars. The committee will explore all that and work really hard to you know, figure out exactly what that is to create the transition. But we're very interested in making sure the transition moves forward smoothly.
Would you make any promises about property taxes this time? At least something, if not what, that something will happen. Is this the year that we'll see something?
I can promise you it'll come up on the floor in the House of Representatives, and I suspect it will pass there.
Talk about what it means that this is a record time number of female lawmakers, and if it's significant or if it shouldn't be significant.
Well, you know, it's significant as numbers generally are, but I think Iowans are very interested in electing good people to the legislature. When that can be a woman, good, I'm glad. And I think it is helpful to have more and more diversity in the legislature, and certainly women help bring that. But we're pleased to have good men lawmakers as well.
Should we be at the point where this shouldn't be something people look at and talk about how it tied a record from, I believe, 2009 of, you know, the number of female lawmakers in session? Should we be past that, is what I'm gonna ask?
Well, you know, we dropped and we've come back up. I think that's good. That's admirable. And we need to go out and recruit more women. But absolutely, I think having a good General Assembly, having a good legislature is the biggest priority to Iowans, no matter how that's composed. But we certainly support finding more and more women that want to engage in this process.
What about gay marriage or abortion? Is there any talk of introducing something on that early in the session? Or?
We don't know what bills will be filed, but there may be some bills filed. Don't know at this point.
You indicated at the prayer breakfast you won't spend more than you take in, or
That's correct.
use the one-time money. How tough, I mean, that limitation there with what the governor proposed with your tax items, I mean, the budget, there isn't a whole lot left.
Even conforming to that number, I believe, looking back here, the staff interest is correct, but I believe that would mean we would have somewhere in the neighborhood of 5% growth if we spent all of the ongoing revenue on ongoing expenses. I can tell you, I don't know too many Iowans are seeing their family budget increase by 5%. I don't see why that, any other threshold than making sure we balance ongoing revenue with ongoing expenses. I actually find it profound, and only in government is that a novel concept.
So you're saying your premise, you won't spend more than you take in, could mean spending 5% more?
No, I didn't say that at all. I'm just saying, even if, I mean, for those who want to spend beyond that and spend the one-time money on ongoing expenses, okay, the numbers get dramatic. And just like I said in my remarks, if we were to spend everything the law permits us to spend in order to sustain that, it would require 9% revenue growth the following year, which, I mean, that'd be great if the state's economy was that strong, but I'm sure that isn't anything we want to bank on happening. Okay, thank you.